back with another haircut tutorial. Now in this haircut tutorial we are going to be doing a nice smooth low fade. A low fade, the one that the shop is kind of hard to do. You gotta be quick, especially if you have a big amount of clientele. But now let's get straight to it. Rudy A Blends back with another haircut tutorial. Now in this haircut tutorial we are going to do a low fade like I just said before. Now we're going to do a harsh bar line. The first bar line is going to be based on the shape of his head. So on this particular client, his head shape on the back, his occipital bone does pop out a little bit too much. So I'm going to be making sure that I do put the bar line pretty low, but I also want to make sure that once I'm doing these guidelines, it's going to be a nice and smooth low fade. Because at the end of the day, since if you make the guideline short, especially I know on the low fade it's supposed to be short, but if you make the guideline short on the low fade and on the back he has the occipital bone, it's gonna look like you have lines. You know, either you like have lines or like a chili bow in the back. The chili bow tends to be normal because that's particularly the hairstyle. You know what I'm saying? The low fade, that's particularly the hairstyle, but on the lines, that's what, especially some hair textures that are so thick and coarse, like this particular client, he has pretty thick hair and it's pretty dark. If you make the lines shorter than on the back, the guideline shorter, then sometimes even when you even blend it, when they go back to the normal and raise their head up, it's gonna look like they have some lines. So that's just, you know what I'm saying, that's just part of their head shape. Now pretty self-explanatory doing the first ball line. Now I'm not pressing hard, I am just letting doing the trimmer do its work. You know what I'm saying? So I know I do with the shaver, but I'm gonna skip the shaver for now and then just go straight to debulking his hair. This particular client likes to come every month, you know what I'm saying, or every other month, sometimes two, you know. So what we're gonna do is I want to make sure I leave some, you know, graduate length, you know what I'm saying, on the parietal ridge. I want to make sure you know, I leave some type of length and some type of darkness, but I don't want it to look too high, you know what I'm saying. I want to leave some bulk, especially for his hairstyle that he wants some, but not too much, you know what I mean. And I think I'm using a number 5 guard or 4 guard from there, because it is a low fade. I believe it's a 4. And I'm just going straight up based on his head shape by his parietal ridge. Now on some when you're cutting hair, sometimes it doesn't want to, when you try to cut the hair, it like moves around. So what I like to do is actually hold the comb down with the hair and then cut the hair after like that. Now when we debulking, the first guideline we're going to do with the lever all the way open. The first guideline is going to be the lever all the way open, going about half an inch, not too big. And like I said, we're trying to make it as perfect as we can with these guidelines. Some people don't really make nice, neat guidelines, and that's cool, you know. But when I do that, I typically get lost, because sometimes I'm like, okay, I didn't really do it fully. So then I'm like, okay, do I take it out with the lever all the way open? Do I take it out with the lever halfway? You know what I mean? Especially when I'm blending. So I like to do it neat, and if you don't, that's all cool, you know, based on whatever works for you. Now we're gonna slap the number 1 guard, and I'm using my Babyless Pros. As you can see, when I was debulking, I used the Wall Seniors because my personal opinion, I feel like Wall Seniors are pretty strong for bulking. But I love the Wall Seniors, man. Right now, I don't know what's wrong with mine. I think they're getting pretty loud. Reminds me like the Andes Masters, the coilless ones, is getting extreme, especially the Andes Masters. They're getting too loud for my taste, especially when I'm trying to talk to my client and I gotta raise up my voice thinking I'm yelling at them. It's ridiculous. So I am doing a whole, like about half an inch as well of another guideline, you know what I mean. And I'm basically, you know, on some spots you can tell already that I'm gonna have trouble, like right there when I'm cutting it right now. As you can see, I did with the number 1 guard, and there's already spots that look like they're not even. There's some spots that looks shorter than the other ones. So as we can determine by like that, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna know I already know that I'm gonna have a difficult canvas of cutting hair. It's not gonna be easy. So after that, then I'm gonna do with the number 2 guard, going straight up. I'm gonna go about another inch. Now right here, I'm just go straight up. You're not really making a line. You know what I mean? Just flick out the wrist. I like to say to go about another inch, but don't go too harsh. You know what I mean? Just make sure your wrist is nice and smooth. At the end of the day, everything is based on the wrist. And as you can see right now, I'm holding the hair down and I'm slapping the number 3 guard, and I'm making sure I'm cutting the hair. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes the hair doesn't want to cut, so you gotta force it to cut. So you just grab the hair down with the comb, and then you just cut it with against the grain. Now right here, I did switch clippers because, like I said before, I felt like the babless wasn't really strong enough to do it. I tried, and it really wasn't, especially since hair is pretty thick. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna break my clippers, so I'll just switch with the Wall Seniors. Now, by all means, if you want to do it quicker, I would suggest doing clipper over comb. But I remember when I first started cutting hair, when I was doing clipper over comb, I would really cut more than I'm supposed to, and that was pretty bad. Especially when I was doing high fade, I would make the head shape like a cone. It was just hard. And once I started using guards, it does take longer, but the head shape and the shape of the haircut, man, it tends to be more fuller. Now I'm going to be doing clipper over comb, and as you can see, I'm just cutting all the hair out that is really standing out. What I could have done, I could have really used the number 4 and 5, but I felt like that was going to be a little bit too much time, so I felt like more easier just clipper over comb it. And then if you want to make it even more smoother, just bring out the thinning shears, and that would do it. Now when I'm doing clipper over comb, I'm not really digging in. I'm just really playing with the hair to see which hair is laying down or overlaying, and I'm basically just cutting that overlaying hair. Now we're gonna be blending in. So to be blending in, we are gonna be using the 1.5 guard with the lever all the way open. And we're gonna go all the way up, but below the number 2 guard. Whatever guideline did you left, we're gonna go almost all the way open and below the number 2 guard. Now, I am using the corners, especially when I'm blending. I am mostly just using the corners and making sure that I don't go all the way up. And as you can see by that line that I just showed, I'm right here. I'm trying to be careful that I don't get scared to go up, because sometimes, especially when they have the bone sticking out of the extra meat behind their head, I personally don't want to go all the way up, but then sometimes I have to, because that's the whole point, but I'm just being scared because I don't want to mess the haircut up. So I'm just going with the 1.5 all the way over, and just making sure I go below the number 2 guard and just using my corners. Now we're going to use the 1/2 guard, and we're going to take the second line, which is the 1 guard open. Below the 1 guard open, we're going to go all the way up with the below the 1 guard open with the 1/2 guard. Now you're gonna see that little line. Now that little line, we're not gonna touch it. We're gonna leave it alone, and we're gonna come back with it, and then we're gonna use the 1 guard. So on this 1/2 guard, just make sure you use the corners and you don't dig in as hard, because this one tends to be the scariest one, I guess. because this one, if you go too high, you're gonna have to start over again. So in my personal opinion, I feel like you should watch out with the half guards and with the one guard. The one guard tends to relieve tends to shape up the darkness, and the half guard tends to be the one to the fade masters, you can say. Now we're gonna use the one guard open, and then we're gonna use our corners. Now we're just gonna attack that line, and we're not gonna go all the way up. We're just gonna attack that line that is right there. You know what I mean? We're not gonna go all the way up, because the whole point of a low fade is to have darkness, to have a nice smooth darkness around his head. Now on some typical clients, you do have to stretch the skin a lot. On this particular client, I didn't feel like I needed to, especially with his darkness of hair. It all just depends on basically on the customer and on the hair texture that you're working with. Now, on sometimes some occasions, you might have to readjust what your steps are. Sometimes when you do your fading steps and your fading techniques, sometimes it doesn't work. So basically, you have to come up whatever you can to adjust the problem. You know what I mean? It's basically like a boxing match. In a boxing match, you go in there with a plan that you're gonna knock them out and do all these angles. But once you, like Mike Tyson said, once you get punched, sometimes that changes your game plan. Or sometimes you tried your game plan and it didn't work out. He knows your game plan, so you're gonna have to change it. And it's basically the same thing with barbering. You know what I mean? Some hair textures, they really just don't want to listen. So you're gonna have to make them listen by doing other techniques. And on some hair textures, it's not that some are nappy, some are nasty. It's none of that. It's mostly if it curls, if it's thin, is it thick? So if it's thin, I feel like that's a little bit more scary or more dangerous for me, because that tends to be like more. You really have to be very light with what you do. I've cut a woman's hair. I'll never forget. That lady wanted a fade, and she didn't want a ball fade. She just wanted a shadow fade. For those who don't know what a shadow fade is basically when you have light hair, or like almost close to bald, but when you do razor work, you can still see like your sideburns, and you can still see the squared shape on your neck. That's what a shadow fade is. So basically, almost like a half guard all the way over, and then just shape up the sides. Make it nice and clean, nice and smooth. And that's basically what she wanted. So I already, when I saw her hair, I was like, okay, you have thin hair. So probably with the one guard, that's it. I wouldn't have to use the half guard. And unfortunately, once I used that one guard all over, it looked like I gave her a whole ball fade. Because when I tried to line up the sideburns, she just looked like she was completely bald. You couldn't really see it. But I knew I used the one guard. So on those type of occasions, you really have to be, because you can't really go back. I couldn't go back. Thankfully, she liked it. You know what I mean? But I really couldn't go back, because you can't put hair back, but you can watch out for it. So that's what I mean, especially for thin hair. It's pretty dangerous and pretty scary for those type of occasions, but you just have to be well prepared, and you kind of have to analyze what you're working with before you even cut the hair. Like, especially with this customer, when I first met him and he came in, I was like, okay, this is gonna be a little bit tricky, because his hair was pretty thick. But once I started cutting it, his hair wasn't thick. His hair was just pretty dark, a little bit thick, but not really as thick as I thought. Because some types of hair textures, when they have a very thick hair, sometimes when you go with the lever all the way open, that looks like you probably just slap him with the number one guard. You know what I mean? It just on the different occasions that you have to really work on, and you have to be prepared. And on especially on thick hair, sometimes when you do one pass with the, I would just say like with the lever all the way open. Sometimes when you do that one pass, sometimes that one pass is not enough. Sometimes you have to keep on going over and over and over, because that's basically their hair texture. But when we're doing like light hair, thin hair, you just probably cut it once and that's it. That's a wrap. You know what I mean? There's no need for all that. And also, you're also supposed to be watching out for skin irritation. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't use shavers on everybody. That's why I have a main reason why right now I like my technique that I wait at the last, before I'm attacking the ball line, that I'm waiting before, attacking the fade. Because in my personal opinion, not even my opinion, my experience, when I was doing the ball line and then I came back with the shavers, man, their skin was red, and I would just get a little bit frightened. I'm like, oh snap, you know what I'm saying? This dude ain't gonna come back from this. And some clients didn't really come back from that. So in reality, that's why I like doing the ball line. And after the ball line, I like to wait, almost after the haircut. If their skin is red, then I'm just gonna tell you, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? You got sensitive skin. If you want the shaver, I'll do it. But I try to explain them, and they still, some clients, they don't care. They just want it. And if they don't want, they just want it. That's your job. You just give them the fries and milkshake. And on some customers, and I don't know, I know one customer, I tell him, hey man, you got sensitive skin, you might get bumps and all that. And he said, okay, if you think I can't do it, then don't do it. And I was like, cool. And those are some type of customers you might get. Some might listen, some might not care, some don't really care. They just, I want this and I'm gonna get this, and you just gotta give it to them. You know what I mean? But now, for the attacking the ball line, it's pretty easy. The ball line is the easiest line that you should supposed to be taking out. So that ball line, all you have to do is to lever all the way close, halfway, and then open. Close, halfway, and then open. If you're scared, then I would suggest doing 4 steps. Close, semi-close, halfway, and then all the way open. But now we're doing detail work. So this is what really varies depending on client to client. As you can see, my client right here has a lot of spots right there, like little ball spots. Now, that's normal. Everybody has those. I have those below my ear, above my ear, around my ear. You know what I mean? So, as a barber, I feel like it's your job to make it blend in. So pretend like that doesn't exist and make it go with the flow of his hair. And doing that is hard. You know what I mean? That it gets hard. And I felt like I went too hard on my shavers, that I left the line. So I flipped the trimmer and I was tacking the line, and it was working actually. And I take the line out like that smoothly. Now, this step, I don't really do it a lot, but I do it usually if I go too harsh on the guideline, on the shavers, and that's what I do to try to perfect it. Now, sometimes you really have to watch out. I know it looks like I'm using the whole thing, but I'm not. I'm just using the corner of it. You really got to watch out, because sometimes when you use that, I made a line with the trimmers, so I had to come back with my clippers to try to blend it in. As you can see below the ear, you're gonna see some red spots right there. Right there, I left a little line, and that's what I'm trying to fix right now. So as you can see, the blend is really coming in, man. The blend's coming on fire. There's a lot of spots that he has, but we're gonna do the best we can do, to make it blend in with all his hair that he has. Now, when you're doing detail work, I would suggest using a lot of the corners, like exaggerate using more of the corners. When you're doing your guidelines, you are using the full blade, but when you're blending, you're using the corners. That's just my opinion. That's my techniques that I like to use. I feel like it's more harder if you use a whole blade. I've seen like that 5-minute haircut. They use a whole blade, which yeah, that's true, and it's cool. But if you really want to go detailed, especially if you're trying to do a low fade, nah, man, you're gonna have to use the corners. But with all my techniques, all my fades come out nice and crisp, and they come out looking like this. I didn't touch the beard, he didn't want me to touch it, and boom, look at that. That's looking nice and smooth and clean. My name is Rudy A. Blends. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, stay blessed.